Somebody needs to hear this today. You've been giving away pieces of yourself that you don't even have to give. You've been begging for love, craving attention, searching for respect from people who don't even recognize your value. And I'm here to tell you enough is enough. It's time to stop asking, stop pleading, and start rising. Mental strength isn't about being unfeeling. It's about being unshakable. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that no one else's opinion can shake your peace. Today, we're going to take back our minds, our hearts, and our power. You will no longer be a hostage to approval because God didn't make you to be small. He made you to be unstoppable. Somebody needs to hear this today. The first step toward becoming mentally strong is knowing your worth. And I don't mean just saying it like a line you repeat in the mirror. I mean really knowing it deep in your bones, in the quiet spaces where nobody else sees you. Because the truth is, too many of us spend our lives running after people's approval, chasing after attention, begging for love, and hoping that someone out there will finally see us the way God sees us. And while we're doing that, we are slowly eroding ourselves. We are slowly convincing ourselves that our value is dependent on the reactions, the affection, the respect of people who might not even recognize it. We are teaching ourselves to rely on applause from people who weren't even invited to be the audience of our lives. And it's exhausting. I want you to think about how many times you have twisted yourself, bent yourself, or silenced yourself just to get someone to notice you, to make someone like you, to make someone stay. How many times have you replayed conversations in your head, wondering if you said the right thing, if you were enough, if you measured up? How many times have you given pieces of your heart away, only to find that the person you gave them to didn't know what to do with them, or worse, didn't care? And yet somehow we keep going back for more. We keep hoping that if we try harder, if we bend a little more, if we compromise a little more, maybe this time they will finally see us. But let me tell you something, your worth is not negotiable. Your value does not fluctuate based on someone else's attention or affection. You do not have to earn it, prove it, or fight for it. It is already there. It is already set. God has already made you enough. And until you believe that, until you truly internalize it, you will remain in a constant state of seeking approval, constantly begging for something that you were never meant to beg for. Knowing your worth means recognizing the gifts, the talents, the spirit, and the heart that you carry. It means looking in the mirror and being honest about the ways you have given yourself away and deciding that today is the day you stop. It means forgiving yourself for the times you settled, for the times you tolerated disrespect, for the times you minimized your own value just to make someone else comfortable. Mental strength begins when you say, I am not defined by who loves me, who sees me, or who respects me. I am defined by the one who created me, and I am enough. I know this is hard because the world tells us something different. Social media tells us that your worth is measured by likes, by follows, by how many people are talking about you. Relationships sometimes tell us that our love must be earned, that affection is a reward for good behavior, that attention is only given to those who fit a certain mold. But that is a lie. That is not the truth. And if you don't confront that lie, it will slowly eat away at your spirit. It will convince you that you are not enough, that your natural self is not worthy, that you must constantly chase, constantly plead, constantly adjust just to get a taste of validation. And mental strength, real mental strength, cannot grow in that soil. Knowing your worth means that you start making choices that protect your spirit. It means you stop investing in people who don't invest in you. It means you stop giving your energy to situations that leave you feeling depleted, unseen, and unappreciated. It means saying no to the relationships, the friendships, the environments that demand your time and love, but refuse to recognize your value. This is not selfishness. This is not arrogance. This is self-preservation. This is knowing that your mind, your heart, and your soul are sacred, and you will not let anyone treat them like they are disposable. And here's the thing, the world will try to shame you for it. People will say you're too sensitive, too proud, too difficult. They will try to guilt you into lowering your standards, into shrinking, into tolerating things that do not serve you. But here is the truth: standing firm in your worth is the most radical, most courageous, most liberating act you can do. It is saying to the world, I will not negotiate my value. I will not settle for crumbs when God has prepared a feast for me. I will not dim my light so that someone else can feel comfortable. I know who I am, and I refuse to apologize for it. Knowing your worth is also a practice. It doesn't happen overnight. It is a decision you make daily, sometimes hourly, to choose yourself over the approval of others. It is choosing to speak your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, choosing to walk away from what no longer serves you, choosing to love yourself fiercely when the world has been teaching you that you are not enough. It is choosing to celebrate your victories, however small, and to forgive yourself for your failures, knowing that your value is never contingent on your perfection. And let me remind you, knowing your worth doesn't make you proud. It doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you strong. It makes you resilient. It makes you unshakable. Because when you finally understand that your value is inherent, that it is not dependent on someone else's recognition, you free yourself from the chains of seeking, from the exhaustion of begging, from the heartbreak of constantly being undervalued. You create space in your life for people who see you, love you, and respect you, not because you begged them to, but because they recognize the treasure that you already are. Somebody needs to hear this today. Before you can receive love from anyone else, before you can expect attention, respect, or validation, you have to learn to love yourself fiercely. I'm not talking about the kind of love that is easy when everything is going right, when the mirror reflects what society says is perfect, when people are applauding you. I'm talking about the kind of love that refuses to be shaken when you feel unseen, unappreciated, and even unwanted. This is the love that refuses to beg, the love that refuses to compromise your worth to fit someone else's standard. This is the love that says, I am enough just as I am. For far too long, we have been taught to tie our self-love to external factors. We've been conditioned to think that our value is determined by who notices us, who wants us, who praises us. We look for love in the wrong places, hoping someone will fill the emptiness we have allowed to fester inside of us. And while we are searching outward, we are ignoring the one person who has been waiting all along, the person in the mirror, the one whose heart we have neglected, the one whose soul has been silently crying out for recognition. That person, that self, needs your love first. They need your fierce, unrelenting, unapologetic love before anyone else can be trusted with it. Loving yourself fiercely means you stop apologizing for who you are. It means you stop shrinking to make others comfortable. It means you stop ignoring your own needs and desires just to cater to someone else's agenda. Loving yourself fiercely is saying to the world, and more importantly to yourself, I am not defined by rejection. I am not defined by someone else's inability to see me. I am not defined by anyone's standard of worth except the one who created me. And when you truly embrace that, something powerful begins to happen. You no longer crave approval because you already have it. You no longer beg for attention because you already notice yourself. You no longer tolerate disrespect because you already honor your own value. Too many of us are still waiting for someone else to affirm our existence. We are still waiting for someone else to tell us we are enough. We are beautiful, we are worthy. And every time that validation doesn't come, we spiral. We doubt ourselves. We question ourselves. We chase after the very people who will never give us what we already have inside. But loving yourself fiercely changes the game. It shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance. It tells you that your heart is full enough, your spirit is strong enough, your life is rich enough. Even if nobody else recognizes it, Fierce self-love also means making hard choices. It means walking away from relationships that drain you. It means saying no to people who take but never give. It means stepping out of situations where you are undervalued, overlooked, or dismissed. And yes, that can feel uncomfortable. Yes, that can feel lonely at first. But that is part of the process. That is the growth. Because when you love yourself fiercely, you realize that you are better off alone than in the wrong company. You realize that peace is more valuable than attention, that respect is more powerful than approval, that self-worth is more critical than someone else's temporary affection. Loving yourself fiercely does not mean you become proud or arrogant. It does not mean you stop loving others or become self-centered. It means you create a standard for how you allow people to treat you. It means you refuse to settle for anything less than what you know you deserve. It means you refuse to accept crumbs when God has already prepared a feast for your soul. And once you understand that, once you internalize that, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop begging and start receiving. You stop shrinking and start thriving. And let me tell you, the world will challenge you when you decide to love yourself fiercely. People will call you selfish. They will say you are too proud, too bold, too difficult. They will try to make you doubt your own worth. But this is where mental strength meets spiritual courage. This is where faith and self-respect collide. Because when you know who you are, when you know your value, when you know your worth, no outside voice can diminish it. No criticism can take it away. No rejection can define it. Fierce self-love also teaches you patience. It teaches you that you don't have to rush into relationships just because the world says you should. It teaches you that you don't have to compromise your values just to be liked. It teaches you that you can wait for what aligns with your worth instead of grabbing what is available. This kind of love doesn't settle for temporary satisfaction. It demands alignment, it demands respect, it demands authenticity. It refuses to compromise with mediocrity because it knows that you are destined for greatness, not just someone else's convenience. Finally, loving yourself fiercely gives you clarity. It gives you eyes to see people and situations as they truly are. It gives you the courage to step away from what does not serve you and to step toward what uplifts and nourishes your soul. It gives you the power to stop asking for love, attention, or respect from those who are not capable of giving it. And it allows you to live a life that is grounded in confidence, in self-assurance, in unwavering mental strength. Somebody needs to hear this today before you can ever receive love from anyone else, before you can ever expect respect, before you can ever hope for attention that truly matters. You have to learn to love yourself fiercely. I'm not talking about a soft, surface level love that only exists when life is easy or when people around you are cheering you on. I'm talking about the kind of love that stands firm when nobody notices, the kind of love that refuses to be shaken when the world tells you that you're not enough. This is the love that says, I am worthy, even when rejection stares you in the face. The love that says, I am valuable, even when everyone else has overlooked you. The love that refuses to beg or plead because it knows its own inherent value. So many of us have spent years looking for validation in all the wrong places. We chase after attention from people who could never truly see us. We give love to people who don't have the capacity to reciprocate. We bend ourselves into shapes that don't fit who we really are, just to be accepted. And while we're doing that, we lose pieces of our own identity. We start to believe that our worth depends on someone else's recognition, that we must earn love, that we must earn respect, that we must chase someone's affection just to feel alive. But the truth is, all that chasing, all that bending, all that giving away of yourself does not fill the void. It doesn't bring peace. It doesn't bring freedom. Fierce self, love begins when you decide that you are enough right now, in this moment, as you are. It is not about perfection. It is not about being flawless. It is about seeing yourself through the eyes of the Creator who made you. knowing that your value is not dependent on anyone else. It is about affirming yourself, speaking to yourself, protecting yourself, and honoring yourself in ways that nobody else will if you don't start. When you love yourself fiercely, you stop relying on external sources to tell you who you are, and you start defining yourself by truth, by your purpose, by your worth. This kind of love also requires courage. It requires the courage to face your insecurities, to confront the places where you have doubted yourself, to forgive yourself for the times you have tolerated less than you deserved. It requires the courage to step away from toxic relationships, from people who take without giving, from situations that deplete your soul. And yes, it can be uncomfortable. Yes, it can feel lonely at first. But that is the work of mental and spiritual strength. Choosing yourself even when no one else seems to. Choosing your peace even when chaos surrounds you. Choosing to protect your heart even when it feels easier to give it away. Fierce self-love also means setting boundaries. It means saying no to people, situations, and behaviors that do not honor your value. It means being honest with yourself and others about what you will accept and what you will not. It is not unkind or selfish, it is necessary. It is an act of self-preservation. It is a declaration that your energy, your emotions, your time, and your heart are sacred, and you will not allow them to be treated as disposable. When you start to set boundaries, you start to see the difference between those who truly love you and those who are only convenient. You start to recognize the difference between genuine respect and temporary approval. Loving yourself fiercely transforms the way you interact with the world. You begin to attract people and situations that align with your value instead of draining you. You stop begging for attention because you notice your own worth. You stop seeking approval because you already approve of yourself. You stop tolerating disrespect because you have learned that your heart is not a playground for other people's carelessness. Fierce self-love reshapes your expectations and your interactions. It teaches you that the love you give yourself sets the standard for how others are allowed to treat you. Many people will try to challenge you when you decide to love yourself this way. They will call you selfish. They will say you're too proud. They will question your motives. They will try to guilt you into lowering your standards, into shrinking, into tolerating what you used to tolerate. But that is exactly why self-love is a spiritual act. Because when you recognize your own value, you do not let anyone else dictate it. When you learn to love yourself fiercely, you no longer allow external opinions to determine your worth. You no longer let rejection define you or shape your identity. You stand firm in your truth, in your power, in your inherent value. Fierce self-love also teaches patience. It teaches you that you don't have to settle for less than you deserve. It teaches you that you don't have to chase after people who do not see your value. It teaches you to wait for what aligns with your worth, rather than grabbing what is available simply because you are afraid of being alone. This kind of love does not settle for temporary satisfaction. It demands depth. It demands authenticity. It demands alignment. It refuses to compromise your value for convenience or comfort. When you love yourself fiercely, you realize that waiting is not weakness, it is strength. And perhaps most importantly, fierce self-love gives you clarity. It opens your eyes to see situations and people as they truly are. It helps you recognize where love, attention, and respect are freely given and where they are withheld. It gives you the wisdom to let go of what doesn't serve you and the courage to embrace what uplifts you. It allows you to stop asking for validation, stop begging for approval, stop hoping for love from those who cannot give it. And when you stand firm in your own love, your heart becomes a magnet for what it truly deserves, and your life begins to reflect the freedom, the strength, and the peace that comes from unwavering self-worth. Somebody needs to hear this today. Setting boundaries is not optional if you want to become mentally strong. It is not a suggestion. It is not a favor you do for yourself only when you have time or when you feel like it. Boundaries are the line that separates who you are from who you are not willing to become for anyone else. Boundaries are the armor that protects your mind, your heart, and your spirit from being trampled by people who do not respect your value. Too many of us have lived without boundaries, hoping that if we give enough, bend enough, and tolerate enough, the people around us will finally see us, finally appreciate us, finally respect us. But what happens when they don't? What happens when they continue to overstep, to take, to demand, and to disrespect? We are left feeling depleted, unseen, and unloved. And the truth is that depletion is not because you are weak. It is because you have allowed your boundaries to be invisible. Setting boundaries means making a conscious decision to protect your energy and your peace. It means understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup. It means realizing that no one else is responsible for filling the holes inside you that only you can address. When you set boundaries, you are saying to the world, I am not responsible for managing your emotions. I am not responsible for your approval. I am not here to be anyone's safety net at the expense of my own well-being. And this is powerful because so many of us have spent years sacrificing our peace for the sake of someone else's comfort. We have tolerated behavior that should have been unacceptable. We have ignored red flags. We have allowed people to disrespect us because we were afraid of being alone or because we thought that love and attention are scarce commodities. Boundaries are not walls. They are lines of self-respect. They are declarations that your mind and heart are sacred spaces. They are the way you teach others how to treat you. And make no mistake, if you do not teach people how to treat you, the world will teach them for you, and usually it will be in ways that hurt. Setting boundaries does not make you unkind, and it does not make you unloving. It makes you strong. It makes you clear. It makes you intentional about the life you are willing to live and the people you are willing to let into it. Boundaries are not about punishing others. They are about protecting yourself, preserving your energy, and living in alignment with your worth. Many of us struggle with boundaries because we fear confrontation. We fear that saying no will make people angry, will make people leave, will make people dislike us. But here is the truth. If someone cannot respect your boundaries, if someone cannot honor your limits, then they are not meant to be in the sacred space of your life. Mental strength requires the courage to stand firm. Even when standing firm feels uncomfortable, it requires the courage to choose yourself over the approval of others. It requires the courage to say, this is what I will accept. This is what I will not accept. And if you cannot respect that, then you are not welcome in my life. Boundaries are also a form of self-love. They are proof that you value yourself enough to not tolerate anything less than respect. They are proof that you recognize the energy you give as precious and that it will not be squandered on people or situations that do not honor it. Setting boundaries allows you to reclaim your time, your peace, and your joy. It allows you to make decisions from a place of strength rather than desperation. When you have boundaries, you no longer feel obligated to please everyone. You no longer have to bend to fit someone else's expectations. You no longer have to chase after love, attention, or respect because you have learned to create a space where only what serves your growth and your purpose is allowed. The challenge, though, is that boundaries often require uncomfortable conversations. They often require saying things that others do not want to hear. They often require standing alone for a season. But mental strength is not built in comfort zones. It is built in the spaces where you say no when everyone else says yes, where you walk away when everyone else stays, where you refuse to compromise your peace for temporary approval. Boundaries are not easy, but they are necessary. They are a declaration that your life, your mind, and your heart are not disposable. They are sacred. They are valuable. And you will not allow anyone to diminish them. When you start setting boundaries, you will notice a change in the people around you. Some will respect you more. Some will leave. Some will test you, push back, or challenge your limits. But that is exactly why boundaries are essential. Boundaries separate the people who are willing to grow with you from the people who are only willing to take from you. Boundaries clarify who is aligned with your values and who is not. Boundaries give you the freedom to invest in the people and situations that truly matter while letting go of the ones that drain you. Boundaries also teach consistency. They teach you to honor your word to yourself. When you say, "I will not tolerate this behavior," and you enforce it, you are strengthening your mental resolve. When you say, "I need this time for myself," and you take it, you are reinforcing your self-respect. Boundaries are not temporary fixes. They are daily practices of self-honor and mental fortitude. They are how you protect your mind from chaos, your heart from pain, and your spirit from compromise. And finally, setting boundaries allows you to stop begging for things that you were never meant to beg for. When your boundaries are clear, you no longer have to plead for respect. You no longer have to plead for attention. You no longer have to plead for love. You create an environment in which these things flow naturally to you because you have declared to the world and to yourself that you will accept nothing less than what aligns with your value, your purpose, and your peace. Somebody needs to hear this today. It is time to replace begging with boldness. For far too long, many of us have been stuck in a cycle of asking, pleading, hoping, and chasing love, attention, validation, respect, hoping someone, anyone would finally recognize our worth. And every time they didn't, we felt defeated. We felt less than. We wondered if we were ever enough. But let me tell you something boldness doesn't ask. Boldness doesn't beg. Boldness doesn't plead. Boldness declares. Boldness stands firm in the truth of who you are and refuses to compromise for anyone's approval. Boldness is mental strength in action. Boldness is courage meeting self-respect, and it is available to you right now if you are willing to claim it. You see, begging is rooted in fear. Fear that you will be left alone. Fear that you are not enough. Fear that if you don't chase it, you will miss it. And that fear is exhausting. It drains your energy. It diminishes your spirit. It convinces you that your happiness, your peace, your sense of value is dependent on someone else's willingness to give it to you. But boldness flips that narrative completely. Boldness refuses to live in fear. Boldness refuses to shrink. Boldness says, "I will not compromise my heart, my mind, or my peace for anyone else's acceptance." Boldness knows that love, respect, and attention are not things you beg for. They are things you receive as a natural reflection of your value when you refuse to settle for less than what you deserve. Replacing begging with boldness starts with your mindset. It starts with deciding that you are done waiting for someone else to decide your worth. It starts with recognizing that the power to define your life, to define your relationships, to define your happiness is already in your hands. You cannot control how other people respond, how other people feel, or how other people act, but you can control how you respond to yourself, how you honor yourself, how you carry yourself in the world. Boldness begins when you take responsibility for your own life and stop giving others the power to dictate how you feel about yourself. Boldness also requires action. It's not enough to think about being bold. You must act. You must speak up. You must set boundaries. You must walk away from situations that drain you. You must refuse to tolerate disrespect. You must stop giving your energy to people who do not reciprocate it. Boldness is a practice, a daily decision to choose strength over fear, to choose yourself over approval, to choose peace over chaos. When you act boldly, you send a message not only to others but to yourself. I am not a beggar. I am not a secondary option. I am not disposable. I am worthy. I am valuable. And I will carry myself accordingly. Many people are uncomfortable with boldness because it challenges the status quo. It challenges the old patterns of people pleasing. It challenges the belief that you must chase to be loved, chase to be accepted, chase to be respected. When you start acting boldly, you will notice resistance. People may try to test you. People may try to manipulate or guilt you. People may even leave. But that is the power of boldness. It separates those who truly value you from those who are only taking from you. Boldness creates clarity in your relationships. It shows you who is aligned with your worth and who is not. Boldness protects your heart while revealing the people and situations that are meant for your life. Boldness is also rooted in self-love. When you truly love yourself, you understand that you do not need anyone else to validate your existence. You do not need anyone else to confirm your worth. You do not need anyone else to fill the gaps inside of you. Boldness is born from that love, the kind of love that refuses to shrink, that refuses to tolerate less than you deserve, that refuses to beg for what should be freely given to you in the form of respect, attention, and love. Boldness is an act of self-preservation. It is an act of claiming the life, the peace, and the happiness that already belong to you. And let me remind you, boldness does not mean arrogance. It does not mean aggression. It does not mean pushing people away or burning bridges unnecessarily. Boldness is about standing firm in your value while allowing others to respond authentically. It is about creating space for healthy relationships while removing yourself from toxic ones. Boldness is about saying what needs to be said, doing what needs to be done, and living your truth without apology. It is the quiet, powerful strength that refuses to negotiate with fear, doubt, or insecurity. Replacing begging with boldness also teaches resilience. Every time you act boldly, every time you honor yourself, every time you refuse to chase what is not meant for you, you strengthen your mind and spirit. You train yourself to trust your judgment, to trust your instincts, to trust that your worth is unshakable regardless of anyone else's opinion. Boldness turns rejection into redirection. Boldness turns disappointment into determination. Boldness turns waiting into preparation. It allows you to navigate life with confidence, with clarity, and with the knowledge that you do not have to beg for what is already yours in essence. When you embrace boldness, you shift the energy in your life. You stop giving power to people who do not deserve it. You stop tolerating relationships, situations, and environments that undermine your peace. You stop shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. And you start living intentionally, with purpose, with courage, and with clarity. You begin to attract people and experiences that align with your worth instead of chasing after what is misaligned. Boldness is the language of mental strength. It is the posture of self-respect. It is the action of someone who refuses to be a beggar in a world that is full of opportunities for those who are brave enough to claim them. Somebody needs to hear this today. Mental strength means standing firm in your value, no matter what the world says. It is not about being unfeeling. It is not about shutting people out or living a life of isolation. Mental strength is about understanding who you are, knowing what you deserve, and refusing to compromise your peace, your heart, or your mind for anyone else's approval. Too many of us have lived in a state of negotiation with our own worth. We have allowed others to dictate our feelings, our decisions, and even our identities. We have spent years trying to fit into spaces where we were never meant to belong, all while begging for love, attention, and respect that should have been freely given to us simply because we exist. Mental strength changes that. Mental strength is the power to refuse to beg, the power to refuse to shrink, and the power to stand firm in the truth of who you are. Standing firm in your value begins with awareness. You must first recognize where you have compromised, where you have tolerated less than you deserve, and where you have allowed other people's opinions to define you. Too many of us have lived on autopilot, responding to the expectations, criticisms, and demands of others without ever asking ourselves what we truly need or deserve. Mental strength requires stopping in the middle of the chaos, taking stock of your life, and asking yourself, am I honoring myself? Am I protecting my peace? Am I living according to my truth? If the answer is no, then it is time to make a change. It is time to take back your power. Standing firm in your value also requires courage. It is not easy to confront people or situations that have treated you as if you were less than. It is not easy to say no to relationships, friendships, or environments that drain you. It is not easy to walk away from approval you have been conditioned to chase. But courage is the foundation of mental strength. Courage allows you to set boundaries, to speak your truth, and to refuse to settle for less than you deserve. Courage allows you to stand tall when others try to diminish you or question your worth. Mental strength is built in moments of discomfort, in moments when you choose yourself over fear, over approval, over the temptation to compromise. Mental strength also means understanding that your value is inherent. You do not have to earn it, prove it, or negotiate it. You do not have to wait for someone else to tell you that you are enough, beautiful, talented, or worthy. Your value is not dependent on anyone else's recognition or approval. It is not dependent on status, success, or material gain. It is inherent because you were created with purpose, with intention, and with unique gifts that cannot be duplicated. Mental strength is believing this deeply and allowing that belief to guide your decisions, your actions, and your relationships. When you stand firm in your value, you create clarity in your life. You begin to see people, situations, and opportunities for what they truly are. You no longer tolerate those who take without giving. You no longer stay where you are disrespected or undervalued. You no longer chase after love, attention, or approval that is conditional or fleeting. Mental strength allows you to separate what serves your growth from what hinders it. It allows you to align yourself with people, environments, and opportunities that elevate you rather than deplete you. It allows you to live intentionally rather than reactively. Standing firm in your value also requires consistency. Mental strength is not a one-time act, it is a lifestyle. It is the daily decision to honor yourself, to protect your peace, and to refuse to compromise your worth. Every time you enforce your boundaries, every time you speak up for yourself, every time you choose what is right for you over what is easy or convenient for others, you are strengthening your mind and your spirit. Consistency in valuing yourself builds resilience. It builds confidence. It builds an unshakable foundation that cannot be moved by criticism, rejection, or doubt. Mental strength is also rooted in self-love and self-respect. When you stand firm in your value, you treat yourself with the same care and honor that you wish others to show. You no longer tolerate lies, manipulation, or disrespect. You no longer allow your energy to be wasted on people who cannot meet you where you are. You recognize that the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. When you respect yourself, you command respect from others, not through force, but through the energy and clarity you project. Standing firm in your value means refusing to let external circumstances define your inner peace. Life will not always go your way. People will disappoint you. Situations will challenge you. Opportunities may close. But mental strength allows you to remain rooted in the truth of your worth, regardless of external outcomes. It teaches you that your identity, your peace, and your sense of self are not negotiable. They are not contingent on someone else's recognition. They are not dependent on approval, attention, or validation. They are inherent, unwavering, and unshakable. Mental strength also empowers you to become a magnet for what aligns with your value. When you refuse to beg, when you refuse to compromise, when you stand firm, you naturally attract people and opportunities that reflect your worth. You no longer chase, you allow life to respond to the energy of someone who knows who they are. You no longer settle, you begin to receive the love, respect, and attention that you have always deserved. And you do this not because you manipulate, demand, or force it, but because you have cultivated the kind of strength, clarity, and integrity that commands alignment naturally. Standing firm in your value transforms your life from a cycle of chasing and disappointment into a life of confidence, peace, and empowerment. It teaches you that you are the keeper of your own heart, the protector of your own peace, and the author of your own story. It allows you to navigate relationships, opportunities, and challenges with wisdom, discernment, and courage. Mental strength is not the absence of difficulty. It is the ability to remain grounded, unshaken, and true to yourself in the midst of it all.